Bonjour everyone! I'm gonna learn how to say hello in different languages for every one of my videos. I'm not gonna do that. Konnichiwa, no, I'm not gonna do that. Hello, welcome. Today we're gonna be learning how to put a subfloor in a camper van. Exciting stuff, people. But first, why is this even important in the overall build? Let me tell you why. Two reasons, three reasons. Ready? Here we go. One, you want to stay warm when you want to stay warm. You want to stay cold when you want to stay cold, aka insulation. The insulation in the floor is really important. Why do I have two fingers up? This is the first one. Two, it's what everything is secured to. Your benches, your bed, your cabinets, etc., etc. Kind of important, the foundation of the van. Three, I guess I didn't have a third one. So just two. Those two things are important though. I would say they're almost as important as having a third one. I don't know. All right, first things first, want to make sure that you clean it out. You want a nice, clean canvas to paint on. That was stupid. For real though, sweep it, scrub it. You want to make sure it's clean. All right, something that I'll note in this video and probably others, there's 1,000 different ways to skin this cat, and the cat is the van and the skinning is the building. AKA, in this situation, when putting down the framing for your floor, you could use screws or nails. Hey, you don't even have to frame it. Some people just put down insulation and then plywood right on top of it. Those people are crazy, but to each their own. I didn't feel like putting more holes in our van, so I decided to use this. Let me tell you about this stuff. NASA uses it. The Eiffel Tower is held together with this. The Incredible Hulk endorses this stuff. None of that's true, but you get the point. This glue is, I plan to just use it on our floors, but I've used it all over the van. So as you can see, Mallory, my beautiful wife, and myself are laying down framing, and this doesn't look like your normal framing. These are 1x2 pieces of pine. And if your OCD is flaring up because they're not in perfect straight line, that's because every van is a little different and the ribs on the Ford Transit all don't line up. So you kind of have to build around those. I know, it's not satisfying. All right, speed this up a little bit, stop. And I think I have a picture right here of what it would look like towards the end. So after you get everything glued down, you're obviously gonna need to cut some plywood. I used 3/8 sanded construction ply, nothing too special, nothing too thin though, or too thick. Cutting that out was fun around the wheel wells and the entry and exit way, but you figure it out. To make sure the glue on the framing sets well, you're gonna wanna make sure you put your plywood back on top and then put on any heavy stuff. I could probably think of a better word than stuff. But I really just used stuff. I used toolboxes, saws, some random bins, and then a bunch of concrete cinder blocks that I found. All right, now to the fun part, insulation. You see people use pretty much two main options, foam board option like this, or something like this, which is an R Max. It has a better R rating, but the foam board is a little more secure. So you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure this part out. Cut out the squares, put them in the holes. Squares and holes. Nah, you get the point. This part's boring. Speed it up, brrr, stop. Okay, next, and not everyone does this, but if you want to be an overachiever, you're gonna put Reflectix on that. What's Reflectix? I didn't know either. It's a lot of times used in ductwork for HVAC, but really for the van floor, it creates a nice vapor barrier. What's a vapor barrier? Again, great question. A vapor barrier, no, it's really not that good of a question. It's pretty self-explanatory. It's a barrier for vapor. So as moisture tries to get into your van, this Reflectix tape will seal all of those cracks and crevices and hopefully keep out any moisture getting in. Okay, this part also gets a little repetitive. Same thing, tape, speed it up, stop. I think I have another picture here of what it looked like towards the end. It honestly was a pretty satisfying job, but tedious nonetheless. All right, now to the fun part. You get to take those pieces of plywood, lay them down, and screw them in. I will say, this is a little weird, but these right here saved my life. Okay, saved my life, that's a little extreme. These right here were helpful. For real though, this whole floor project, you're pretty much on your knees the entire time, whether it's insulation or Reflectix tape or even putting down the framing or the plywood. So pick yourself up some knee pads. You look like a dweeb when you wear them, but worth it. So as you can see, I'm screwing all of these down just to get the appropriate size screw for what you need. I also used a chalk line. That was helpful. Not only to know where I was screwing stuff down, but in the future when you screw down cabinetry, benches, bed, it's really helpful to know where your framing is instead of just having to put it into the plywood and taking a best guess. All right, now knowing what I know, what would I do differently with floors? I think I would have changed how I did the insulation. Probably end up going with this foam board. I went with this R-Max because it had a better R value, better insulation properties. However, no structural integrity. If you were to step on it or lean on it, it would pretty much crack. Whereas a foam board, you could stand on it. It's pretty much an extension of your subfloor. However, I put my framing close enough together where I was able to use the R-Max and my subfloor would be plenty strong. Something I wouldn't change. You see a lot of people put in laminate or tile, whatever wood floor they decide to do right after their subfloor. I waited until almost the end of our van build. I did that mainly because I still wanted the inside of the van to almost act as a construction site. The second you put in nice floors that you spend a couple $100s on, you have to worry about dinging them up and scratching them, dropping hammers, wood. I didn't find it that big of a deal to build around my cabinetry in the end and saved a few dollars as well. All right, floors are done. On to fans. All right, fans. All right. Fans. Are you a fan? Fans. Why do you need them? Honestly, you don't see a lot of people building out camper vans without fans. That's mainly because camper vans are not huge, turns out. So you're gonna wanna keep consistent airflow throughout the van. Otherwise, it's gonna get musty, moist, yeah. So fans will be your best friend. We went with 2 fans, as seen here, one in the front, one in the back. Our reason for this, we have a 10-speed 6200K Maxxair intake and exhaust, that's a mouthful, in the back of the van right over our bed. So again, this one can not only suck air in, but also pushes it out. Has 10 speed and is directly over top where we sleep. Our other fan in the front of the van, the poet didn't even know it, is just a 4-speed 6401K Maxxair exhaust. So obviously this one is just pulling air out. So we did that for 2 main reasons. One, as the back fan is pushing air down, this one's pulling it out, creating a nice circular airflow. And 2, so any smells that may come from cooking or poop, you probably didn't think I was gonna say poop, will get sucked out that fan, or at least that's, the hope. So again, 10-speed intake and exhaust in the back, 4-speed exhaust in the front. All right, on to the actual construction project. I'm gonna be honest, this was our first hole we cut in the van and it was terrifying. I don't care what you say, if you just spend half your savings on a vehicle and cut a 14 by 14 size hole in the ceiling of it, it's gonna be scary as. So you've heard the saying, measure twice, cut once. I'm gonna do you one better. Measure 17 times, cut once. So once you get it all measured out, and we measured it more than once, you're gonna wanna tape around the area that you're cutting with masking tape, just to make sure you don't scratch the top of the van. Obviously, people won't be staring at the top of your van, but just come on, do it. You're also gonna wanna try to catch a lot of the metal shavings. Let me tell you, I learned about metal shavings in this research process. Metal shavings aren't just bad because they're sharp and hurt your fingers. They also expedite the process of rust buildup, and they also can even affect some of your electronic systems. So get rid of that stuff. I actually taped the box underneath where I cut the fan out, so all the metal shavings just fell, just fell right in there. So then you finish your cut, and then you're gonna wanna take a file or some heavy grit sandpaper. Yeah, use a file. File the edges down. Make sure you tap it with some Rust-Oleum paint. After checking your frame fits well, you're gonna go on and take what is called butyl tape. I didn't know this stuff existed, but think of like poster putty when you were a kid and just times it by 10. Usually comes in a big roll, it's not too expensive, and you roll this out along the frame of your fan and then set it in there. That's gonna do two main things. It's gonna help secure it from any water or moisture getting in, but it's also gonna make sure that there's not plastic and metal rubbing against each other. I will stop here and say that some people create a wooden, something just flew out of my mouth. Some people create a wooden frame underneath. That's just to help so you have something to screw into. I figured the metal tapping screws were good enough and we've had no issues so far. Once you get it all screwed in, you're gonna use something called lap sealant. This stuff was cool. It honestly reminded me a lot of this stuff, marshmallow fluff. I didn't taste it. I wouldn't recommend tasting it. I doubt the taste is the same, but consistency and look, similar. So make sure you put that all around, and that's gonna really secure it from any bit of water getting in. I even went over top the screws as well, not just the frame. I'd be generous with the lap sealant. After that, you can put on the fan and secure it. On the Maxxair fans at least, there's two main screws that go on to secure it fully, which were kind of a pain in the butt. You have to adjust them exactly to the height of the fan before you screw them in. Once it's in, you can rip out that plastic sealant and you're pretty much finished. I think I have a picture here of what it looks like from the underside as well. All right, now knowing what I know, what would I change? What would I keep the same? Something I would change on the first fan, yes, I just showed you the second fan I did because it went better. The first fan, I drilled a hole and cut from the middle out. I don't know why. As you can imagine, that probably didn't work as well as starting from the outside and cutting around. No long-term negative effects, however, it just cost me a little bit more time. I also tried to smear the lap sealant with my fingers, similar like you would with silicone. That's not how that stuff's supposed to be working. It literally says right on the bottle, self-leveling. So I would have done those things differently. Something I wouldn't have changed, 2 fans. In the grand scheme of how much money you're gonna spend on a van, they're not that pricey, and honestly, after you put one in, the second one is really easy. Alrighty, floors, fans, done. All right, there will be more videos, so if you're interested, I'm sure you can like or subscribe on this page. I don't really know how YouTube works. So until next time, adios.